Hello and welcome to another episode of Industry Disruptors. I'm Ajay Nair and this is Jordan Wiley MBE who's joining me as always and as per usual. Thank you very much for joining me, Jordan, on our podcast. Today we are talking about property types and types of valuations. Those dreaded surveyors who we all hate because they don't know what they're doing or talking about. They don't understand property. Very bold statements, by the way.
Well, we have no evidence that they do.
A lot of what I'm saying is justified based on the 600 odd, 700 odd valuations that come back to me every single year, of which probably about 600 are down valuations.
Yeah.
But yeah, property types: buy-to-lets, HMOs, semi-commercial, commercial, multi-unit freehold blocks,
hotels.
Well, commercial.
Yeah.
Is it commercial? C1. Class usages.
Yeah, we'll talk about class usages. We'll talk about... I think clients get confused with valuations.
Do you know what I think clients get confused with? Commercial and semi-commercial.
Yes.
It's a commercial property. Oh yeah, but there's two flats above it. Mate, semi-commercial, there's not a commercial.
Yeah, you know what I get a lot? What? And I don't know if you get it as well, but I get a call from like a new client. They're like, I'm looking for a commercial mortgage. So I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'm like, yeah, it's a limited company buy-to-let. And I'm like, no, just because it's a limited company doesn't make it a commercial mortgage. I'm thinking you've got like a restaurant or something. And they're like, no, I've just got like...
A residential
property. I'm like, that's not a commercial mortgage. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they'll keep referring to it as, so you know this commercial mortgage? I'm like, we're not doing one.
Did you hear me have that conversation? It must have been last week or the week before, where I was like, right, get out of your head commercial, right? Yeah. It's not a commercial mortgage.
Yeah.
I
remember you doing that. I was laughing.
I was like, yeah, stop. When you say commercial mortgage, I'm thinking it's an office or a shop. Stop saying commercial. It's a buy-to-let, limited company buy-to-let mortgage. Just a buy-to-let, which is a normal mortgage. I don't even know what happened with that case in the end.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So, buy-to-let, standard property. Someone lives there. Someone lives there, a family, a person, a couple, maybe their dog. That's basically your buy-to-let.
Yeah.
HMO, house of multiple occupation.
Occupancy.
Well, see, that's the thing. It could be occupation, it could be occupancy.
But occupation is a job.
Well, see, and that's my fight and battle with people continuously.
Yeah, but it's called house of multiple occupation because there's multiple occupants. Not occupation. Well, just because
occupation. You confused yourself.
Yeah, but you just said occupation.
No, house of multiple occupancy.
But it's on camera. You said multiple
occupation.
Yeah.
Yes, because some people refer it to as house of multiple occupation.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, well, I thought it was very bizarre, but it is what it is. Anyway, house of multiple something with an O. Occupancy, occupation.
Better people in one house. That aren't related.
There's more than one people.
They're not on the same
More than
ASD.
one people. One people.
Persons.
Yeah, I have lots of peoples in this house.
Yeah.
And these peoples are
and they're on separate,
not related to each other.
Yeah.
And they have, they could be separate ASTs or one AST when you have a lender such as Birmingham Midshires that want them to have
they?
Yeah, they want them to be on one AST, all four of them. Because they do max 4.
Yeah, I know
I'm sure they do max 4. Yeah, Birmingham Midshires,
bizarre.
They want them to be on one AST. But not all lenders require one AST. It could be multiple ASTs. But essentially, house of multiple occupancy.
It's a HMO.
I can't even speak.
Occupancy.
I can't speak.
Yep.
So that's a house of multiple occupancy.
Nailed it.
There you go. 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, 6 bedrooms, 7 bedrooms, 8 bedrooms, 20 bedrooms.
50 bedrooms.
I think the most I've ever done is 18 bedrooms.
I'm doing a 30 bed at the moment. That will be my biggest.
You're doing a 30 bed at the moment. And we'll get onto valuations in a bit. Obviously, different types of HMOs demand different types of valuations. And then obviously you've got your semi-commercial where you've got a commercial unit underneath and a residential unit on top. You've got a fully commercial unit, which is just commercial. There's no residential aspect whatsoever.
Yep.
It could be offices, could be a restaurant, could be a shop, could be a hotel, could be...
Anything, really.
Yeah.
That a business is run from.
Absolutely.
Then you've got an MUFB.
Multi-unit freehold block, which we've discussed on a previous episode.
Indeed.
Which is one freehold title with multiple units within that one freehold title. For example, a block of flats, where you could have 2 flats, 3 flats, 4 flats, 20 flats in one block. That is a multi-unit freehold block. Well, I think a lot of those student blocks that you may have lived in halls of residence or something like that, that's essentially a multi-unit freehold block. In some instances, it's an HMO as well. I've seen HMOs.
Didn't you have one today that was like a multi-unit freehold block HMO?
Oh, no, yeah, I did. I had a multi-unit freehold block, so it was 2 units in the one freehold, but each unit was rented as an HMO. So it took me about 8 seconds to figure
hybrid.
It took me 8 seconds to figure out how to instruct that valuation.
Did you figure that out in the end?
Yeah. Like I said, it took me 8 seconds to figure out how to do that, rather than 1 second. But yeah, instructed that today for a very good client who we will have on this show.
Yes.
At one point.
He doesn't know it yet. But...
No, he does. I spoke to him. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's good.
He's delighted. He's excited.
Oh, I bet he is.
Yeah.
He's a good egg.
He is really, really
We like
good.
him.
Yeah. So he'll be on the show at some point.
In season 2.
In season 2. Is there going to be a season 2?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay. Are we seasoning this up?
Am I getting invited back?
I don't know. I have to think about it.
Get the call up.
I don't know. I might have to audition some others.
Who are you replacing me with?
I'll have to audition some.
Behave.
But yeah, so that's essentially the different types of properties that exist. Well, I guess you could apart hotels are really good ones, and they're interesting because they're kind of...
They're becoming more popular now.
Very popular. Of course, we've got... well, they're C1 usage. So they're kind of set up as hotels, but they're apart hotels. So basically they're apartments instead of hotel rooms. You've got apartments. Very, very popular, especially in the Northwest. Of course, Danny Inman has got...
He's got some sexy ones.
Oh my God. The guy's
Hasn't he just done a new... He's done a new Juice 2 or something?
He's doing a second one
Yeah.
now, yeah. Very, very good at what he does,
Yeah.
Danny. We'll have him on the show as well. He's also agreed to be on the show.
I know he's agreed.
Yeah. It's got some brilliant people coming on. But yeah, so any other types of property?
I don't think so. Those are the main ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
You always come across some weird stuff like farm. I've had a few farms.
Industrial.
Oh, I've had an
Industrial
industrial warehouse unit.
Warehouse
a
units.
security. They do security.
I'm doing a deal right now where there's kind of 3 units under one freehold title. So it's a multi-unit freehold industrial block. 3 tenants. That's actually a really good property. I think it's like 20 mil value. Not so high on the mortgage. I think it's about 12 or 13 million. But yeah, I'm doing a deal with that at the moment. Straightforward commercial, based on EBITDA.
Yeah.
But EBITDA of each lease tenant, each leased tenant, each tenant that leased.
Do you know what EBITDA stands for? As we've been doing the acronym. Oh, I don't know.
I do, but I'm going to screw it up on this podcast, so I'm not even going to bother unless you got a phone to Google it real quick. But yeah, it's essentially the profit and loss figure. I know how to do the calculation, and that's more important.
The important.
That's more important than actually figuring out what the fuck it stands for, to be fair. But yeah, for those of you that don't know how it's spelt, EBITDA. That is
We've now turned into a children's program.
Echo, India.
No, Bravo.
Echo, Bravo, India, Tango, Delta, Alpha, EBITDA.
You're good at the what's it called? Phonetic alphabet, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I just make it up.
Elephant.
E for elephant. Did you not hear me? Do you remember when I was on the phone and I couldn't remember what it was? And then I was like, T for Toblerone. And Charlotte in the office.
Oh my God.
Was
I
dying.
don't think I've laughed that hard in so long. I couldn't. You literally like D for Toblerone. I was
Literally,
like, you can't
I couldn't remember it was tango, and then I got off the phone and we were dying, and then I was like, next time I'm just gonna like fuck them up and say P for pneumonia. It's just so every time I'm on the phone to a lender now, I just make it up.
No, you don't.
I do.
Oh gosh, poor lenders.
Yeah, but they get it, right? They know what it stands for.
The one that gets me is S for sugar.
Sierra.
I don't know.
Everyone
why.
says sugar.
But it winds me up because it's a SH sound, even though it's a spelt SU, and it fucks with my chi. My feng
Your
shui.
chi.
My feng shui is all gone.
Gosh.
Once I hear S for sugar, I'm just like, ugh.
Who knew EBITDA would create such carnage?
All right, E for elephant.
At least everyone knows what elephant begins with. If I said E for elephant, you would know, oh, that's E.
P for pneumonia.
Yeah, I'm going to use that one next time.
X for xylophone.
Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Anyway.
So a lot of those commercial units they could be owner occupier, or they could be rented out, or they could be a mix and match of both. So you've got let's say one of the units you rent out for one of your other companies. You've got OpCo, PropCo, where the property company owns, and then the operation company runs its business from there. Mm-hmm. So, for example, the Hearthstone Group owns the property, and then Hearthstone Accountants and Hearthstone Advisory are the tenants of that. So those two companies would then pay rent to the Hearthstone Group, exactly the same way for other commercial units with investors who mix and match their tenancies, basically. So, yeah, I think that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch really quickly into the valuation side of things. Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that is, whilst we're on topic, the commercial valuation, common mistake.
Is it? I was just about to say this. It was in my head.
The common mistake. I'm very clever. So the common mistake with the commercial valuation. For a commercial property, that is essentially a commercial valuation. It is a valuation for a commercial property. With HMOs, the investment valuation, some people refer to it as a commercial valuation. But that's where it gets a little bit confusing, because the HMO is not technically a commercial property, because it's generally C4. Mm-hmm. But what you can get is an investment valuation. So you get a value on that property based upon the rental income on that property. Now, some surveyors understand it, some surveyors don't. Some surveyors will fuck you sideways. Some surveyors will be very, very commonsensical and give the right type of value. So it's done on a yield basis. The easy way, so a lot of people get confused with the yield basis because they might not necessarily be very good at maths. Which isn't a problem, because a lot of people struggle with that valuation. I would always say it generally comes based on all the valuations that I've had come back between 7, I think the lowest is actually 7.2 that I've ever had. So I would say, just to make figures easier, the gross rental income multiplied by gross rental annual income multiplied by 7 is probably the lowest value you'll get for that property. And the highest I've ever had is 10.
Same.
You had higher than 10.
No, I had 10.
You had 10 on the point. Yeah, so and the highest is the gross annual rental income multiplied by 10 would be what the value of that property is. So, for example, if the rental income is 100,000 gross, you'll get a value between 700,000 and £1 million. Knowing which lender to go to, knowing which valuer to go with, which valuation panel to go with, because there are different panels of surveyors, Obviously, a lot of you will be aware of some of the most common ones, such as eServe, Countrywide, Connells, etc. Not necessarily the ones you always want to go to, but they're, for me, someone like VAS Panel, Method, they would be they'd be the ones that I want to go to.
They understand it.
So I'd actually choose a lender that uses one of those panels over going with a cheaper rate, because I'd want to get the actual valuation that I want.
And not every lender will take an investment valuation.
No, because some lenders will cap at six units. And those that go above 6 units, I think Keystone on one of them, they don't do investment valuations, do they?
No, they don't, no.
Oh, no, they do. Because
they?
they've started using Method now.
Oh, yes, they use Method.
Well, some brokers can use Method then. So they're one. Who don't?
Who don't?
Yeah.
Fleet.
TMW, Fleet.
TMW, TML.
TML don't.
Lambay Lendinvest.
Yeah, you're right.
Some of the big players don't. Precise don't.
Lendinvest, I'm not sure. Lendinvest.
Lendinvest don't.
Do they not? Are they max 6?
Yeah.
Sure. No, I'm sure they're bigger than that.
They're a bit more. But
I have
they
to check on their criteria.
Yeah, I don't think they do.
No, Precise don't, yeah.
No, Precise don't. So quite a few don't, actually.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it is what it is. There are lenders for certain things. There are lenders for other things. Not every lender is going to do everything that is possible. But I would say that general misconception between commercial valuation on an HMO, which is essentially an investment valuation, is based on what the rental income is on a per annum basis.
I get that quite a lot, where people are buying like semi-commercial units and they'll say, oh, can I get an investment val? And I'm like, no. I crush their dreams.
Well, so I don't think I've ever had an investment val on a semi-commercial property.
The only time I've ever had it is when it's a semi-commercial, but the resi aspect is a HMO.
Okay, that's interesting.
Then they'll give an investment val. If it's just a standard semi-commercial, they won't. It'll just be bricks and mortar.
Yeah, I think one of the questions that I'm a mortgage advisor, I'm not a surveyor. What do you think the value is going to be? Well, I haven't got a clue, mate.
Yeah. No idea.
Absolutely not one clue. Because it's not my property. I've not looked into it. I haven't done my due diligence.
Semi-commercials are hard to value as well. Commercial, semi-commercial is hard to value.
Do you know, I think I recall one time where what they did is they actually did a split value and they gave a value. So they basically how we've talked previously, where they give a block value on a property, where it's a multi-unit freehold block. I have had one actually where we did a semi-commercial where they gave the commercial valuation for the commercial property. I think it was about 10 times annual rent.
Okay.
And then they gave the actual values of what the flats were, split value, and then they lent on that split value.
But sometimes it comes down to what the lender feels like, I feel, because then we can get hybrid valuations. and they're kind of a grey area, I feel, because there's no like set criteria, there's no set calculation, and it's usually on, say, like a 6-bed 6-bath, where it's like not quite a 7-bed where you can always get an investment val, but it's very difficult to turn that HMO back into a normal dwelling. So then they'll do a hybrid, which is basically a bricks and mortar valuation with a bit of sprinkle of extras. Extra val on top.
No, it's like, I forget the terminology now, where the hybrid val, where they basically give you, here's a bricks and mortar value and we'll just
slap a bit
on.
A
little bit on.
But that's literally what the lenders say when you ask how do they do it. They just, we slap a bit on there.
Yeah. 20, 30 grand.
Yeah.
Add it on top of that.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I think that worries me a little bit. I think the other thing that worries me a little bit is when people take it too far and they over leverage themselves. Because here's the thing. If anything went pear-shaped, you're not always going to get someone who's going to buy it on a yield basis.
Yeah.
And it's very possible that it's going to get purchased on a bricks and mortar basis. In the same circumstance, if a lender had to repossess, they're not necessarily going to get the investment val as a purchase price.
Yeah.
So that's where I think people take it a little bit too far. If I was in that situation, stay well clear of HMOs now.
Yeah,
I can't do it anymore.
I haven't even attempted them.
I just can't do it. It's just
I don't have the patience.
It's too much headache for me.
But you know what? Some of my clients who have done HMOs recently have started to say, I just can't be asked for this HMO business. And it's mainly because of the valuations.
Yeah.
So what's happening is they're going on a bridge, they're getting the valuation, and then they're getting the GDV as a commercial val.
Yeah.
And then they come to refinance and they're either not getting a commercial val, they're either getting a hybrid val, or they're just completely they're doing a commercial val, but it's like coming up 100 grand less. Yeah. And then they're stuck on the bridge and they're just like, this is a nightmare. More so for 5 and 6 bed HMOs.
I think the problem with valuations is it's so subjective, because you send 10 valuers out to a property, they'll give you 10 answers.
Yeah, 10 different answers.
Or maybe 8 different answers.
But it's supposed to be based on data.
But that's the problem. It's not, though.
It's not.
I mean, if that valuer's woken up and he's just found his missus in bed with someone else last night,
he's going to be fuming.
And then he's gone out to that property and he's like, fuck you, 100 grand less.
There's a bit of damp there, I think.
Yeah, it's just like, do you remember that one where there was damp and there was no actual damp in the property?
He just made it up.
And the client just basically turned the heating on.
He had to get a damp report for that.
But you turned the heating on, sent them out again. Yeah, there's no damp, bitch.
Yeah.
Like what?
They just make that up.
Oh, it's just, it really is ridiculous. But in that situation, if they've woken up the wrong side of the bed, they can just be a dick.
Yeah, they can.
And the lender, oh, well, it's gospel. Whatever the valuer says is gospel. They run the entire country for properties. So whatever they say is correct.
But then when you get that kind of situation where, say they've had a 50 grand down val or whatever, and then you just send them the report of like they've had it done 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, they won't accept it.
Yeah, no. They're like, oh no.
But
it's like, but that's a valuer.
I think RICS have got some major overhauling to do, because any contestation, like I had a client give 18 comparables. 18 comparables to show the surveyor that they are wrong. And the surveyor said, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, mate, the contestation form states that you must give 3 comparables.
And you give 18.
You give 18 comparables of properties that have sold within the last 6 months. 2 of them were on the same road. Mm-hmm. The rest of them were all within a quarter of a mile. And they still said no. Yeah. Because they're so stubborn and pig-headed that they refuse to be told that they're wrong.
Well, I had one literally just 2 weeks ago. It's a bridge, so we're trying to determine the GDV. The next door, which is a carbon copy, sold in April of this year for, I think it was 300,000. And the valuer has come back and given it a GDV of like 275, and I was like, it's literally a carbon copy.
Next door was just sold for 300.
Like months ago, it's just sold. Why would you not give 300?
The other one that I've literally just done, where the valuation came back a couple of days ago, where it's come back at 100,000.
Yeah.
And the flat next door got valued 2 weeks ago at 125,000.
Yeah.
Same client.
It's literally the same.
Owns
flat.
both flats. It's a title split case.
Yeah.
Owns both flats. One valuation's come back at 125. The property in worse condition has come back at 125. The property in better condition has come back at 100. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, no, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, you just, I don't know what that surveyor was smoking that day, but there is absolutely no way there's any common sense in that whatsoever.
No.
So I told the lender, and you know what? The lender, I can't obviously name them because of what they've done for me, but they were brilliant with what they've done. And they basically allowed me to cancel the case and resubmit and go again, because they looked at the other valuation report and they were like, that's just a joke.
Yeah.
And it was done purely on the basis of, this is wrong. It's got to be wrong. And where it annoys me so much with lenders is,
it wasn't the same valuer that went out then.
No, different valuer.
That just proves my point.
Yeah,
of it's subjective.
Yeah, but it's where I think lenders fall down massively. Look at this little thing.
I wondered what you were doing then. I was like, oh, is that a new move?
In the sky in front of my face. I didn't catch it.
I just thought you were being a bit extra.
Yeah, so where I think lenders fall down is where they don't take a common sense approach, and they're so lender is gospel, whatever they say goes. Surveyor is whatever they say goes, and we're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
so many times in the past where I've taken properties to different lenders until we get the right val.
Yeah.
We just keep going to different lenders.
I'm literally doing that now with that 5-bed HMO.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's a waste of our time.
Yeah.
It's a waste of the client's time.
And money.
And a waste of money as well. We've got to pay for all these surveyors to go out until
They're not cheap.
the right one comes out. No, some of them are extortionate.
Ridiculous.
But I think where lenders need to make, a little bit of an adjustment in their way of thinking is, if the client has come back with 18 comparable properties, same size, same bedroom number, within a quarter of a mile, sold within the last 6 months, then obviously the value has got something drastically wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
And for them to say, right, well, we'll send the appeal form. I mean, I think I've had one appeal overturned, and that appeal was not for the value of the property, but the GDV of the property when we were doing a bridge where the property was being refurbished.
Yeah.
In the last maybe 2 to 3 years.
But do you remember, because sometimes I question if they really do know what they're doing, because do you remember, I think it was last year, that valuer who went out and completely screwed me on those 4 semi-commercials on the bridge? And I went back and forth, and she had done a commercial val that came in less than what they were buying it for. And they were already buying at a discount. And there were comparables on that road. And then she got all of the measurements wrong. And then she was like, oh, but they don't have separate entrances. And I was like, did you not go there and literally enter each flat via their own door? Entrance, And then I sent her a picture of all 4 doors, and she was like, oh, yeah. And then all of her measurements were wrong.
Yeah, but didn't the client then send a video of them doing the measurements and saying, "This, how is this right?"
So they sent the floor plan, and then she was like, oh, yeah, I think I've made a mistake. Yeah, I think you did, love.
But then it never went through.
No, because she upped it by like 20 grand, and I was like, what? Are you even... But you've lost my confidence because you've already fucked up twice. Like, you look like an idiot. But then if I was that lender, like, I'm hiring them, essentially. Like, you're working for me.
I'm paying them.
And if that was me, I'd be like, you're so incompetent already. Like, you've made 2 errors. And now you're valuing it on an investment valuation basis, which is supposed to be higher. And it's less than what they're buying it for, which is
less than
70 grand less than what the next door sold for.
Yeah.
No common sense.
It is really, really frustrating. But, I mean, what can you do?
Nothing.
Like, literally. It's so difficult with these surveyors. It's so difficult.
And they hold all of the power.
But what I find most annoying is the fact that RICs do nothing, and we're in full support of that. I get that you got to support the people that are part of your union or whatever, your body. But at the same time, come on, think about it.
Yeah.
If you've had a surveyor go out to a property and someone's come back with 18 different properties that show you that the surveyor is wrong,
you might want to have a little look.
Absolutely. Like, I think surveying panels as well. Like, if you go to a panel, like I've been to a panel, one of the panels that I like, actually, and I was just like, mate, are you looking at this? I was like, how do you have it in you to accept that valuation when X, Y, Z, A, B, C is incorrect? Oh, well, we've just got to go with what they say. I mean, that is the biggest cop-out that exists out there, and it really frustrates me.
Don't you also think, like, it's very, like, one-sided? And when I say that, I mean, there's several examples that I can give here. So one would be when they downvalued the rent, right? So you've got an AST that says £1,000 per month, and then the valuer comes back and says, no, I think the market value is 800. And you're like, well, it's clearly not, because I've got a signed AST for the next 12 months saying 1,000. So where is your logic?
So get this one. This was brilliant. I've got an HMO, 9-bedroom HMO. Each room is rented out. And each room was rented out for £825 each. They're identical rooms, right? £825 a piece. 5 doors down, same client, has an 8-bedroom HMO. So a 9-bed HMO, 8-bedroom HMO. Every single room rented for £825. Value comes back, £650 for each room. Is that, bitch, I've got 9 here, I've got 8 there, and you're telling me that it's 600?
But so if you've got one room aren't then the other 15 rooms comparables?
Well, but that's what you mean 17 rooms, 9 and 8.
See, I'm not very good at math. No. You know what I mean?
But that's what I mean. So I went back to the lender and I said, I've got 17 rooms here at 825. Oh, well, we can't use a subject property. Okay, fine. Here's comparables of 8 rooms, 4 doors down of 825. Here are the ASTs for all of them. Yeah, no, we got to go with what Valuer says. I'm like,
how does that make sense?
Oh, but this is my point. Who on fuck's earth made that surveyor the almighty of property when he clearly hasn't got the singlest clue?
Well, he hasn't done his research, because otherwise he would have used those.
But he hasn't got a clue. He hasn't got the slightest clue of what he's doing in life, because he's saying, no, 650 per room. Mate, I've got 17 rooms at 825.
Yeah.
How on earth can you go? But the lender says, oh, no, we're going on the 650. So what happened? But you think, right? You think it's 650 per room. Think of that down valuation.
Yeah, that's
because on
ridiculous.
An investment valuation.
Yeah.
It's just beyond me how you could be that incompetent.
But then they'll do that, going back to what I was saying, is, so they'll say, well, we'll lend on purchase price if they're not market value, right? So market value, say 150, they're buying for 100, they're like, we'll lend on purchase price because that's what they're willing to pay for it. So that's what it's worth. Yeah. But they won't do it the opposite way round.
What do you mean?
So they won't lend on the market value, because they won't be like, oh, it's worth 150. So lend on 150. They're like, oh, no, we'll lend on what they paid for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's worth that.
Yeah.
It's always going to be worth that. That's not going to change.
Nope. So if the surveyor comes back and says, oh, if you're buying a property for 120 grand, the surveyor says, actually, do you know what? That property's worth 150. There's never a circumstance in which they'll lend on the 150. Yeah. There's never a circumstance where they'll say, oh, congratulations, you've got an up valuation. Let's give you more money. Yeah. They'll do it on a refinance, because then it's like, oh, mate, it's worth 150. Yeah. I made a mistake. Let's get more. But if you're buying it, no, absolutely not. Yeah, and I think there are major issues with this sort of thing.
But do you remember when I had this out with a lender recently about the whole on market value thing? I was like, why won't you lend on market value? Because he's getting a discount for a legitimate reason. I think it was auction actually, and the person inherited the property. They just wanted to get rid of it. They didn't need the money. They would just get rid of this property, hence the discount. But it was still worth what it was worth. And the lender was like, well, no, because if he's gonna pay X for it, that's what it's worth. And do you remember I said to him, so if I sold you my £10,000 Rolex for £1, £1, are you telling me that Rolex is now worth £1? Yeah. And he was like, no, it'd be worth 10 grand. And I was like, that is literally what I'm saying. He was like, I've never thought about it like that before. And I was like, I wanted to reach through the phone and grab him by the neck.
I think I've said this before. If anyone out there has $500 million they want to give to me to set up my own lender, I'm ready, because it will be the best lender in this entire country. I can guarantee it.
Because it will just be fueled by common sense.
Yeah, it's like you've got. I think it kind of coincides with the fact where I always say lenders are not investors; they're lenders. Yeah. Right. So for them, it's all about risk. It's all about credit. It's all about, I can't make a decision because there's 50 people that need to make a decision who don't own a portfolio. Yeah. Right? I think that's the problem with it. But, gosh, honestly, I could go on for hours about the incompetencies that exist in this industry.
We need another episode just on valuations so that we can do live case studies of this is where the valuation was shit.
We should get a valuer on here.
He'd be terrified of coming on.
Yeah. I would destroy them. Literally. But you know what? It'd be interesting because I want to get into the psyche of a surveyor. I want to understand what that surveyor thinks. I've got this one client in Liverpool. He's brilliant. His deals are brilliant. he's actually like, he becomes because obviously he does so many deals.
Yeah.
The same valuer keeps coming out again and again and again. He's like become mates with that valuer.
Yeah.
And some of the stories he tells me, I'm just like, that's really interesting. So it might be worth.
Do you think a lot of it though is like them covering their arse for insurance purposes?
100%.
Or we'll just shave 10. We know it's worth 300, but we'll just shave 10 grand off just to
Just in
cover our
case,
asses, just
yeah.
in case
Yeah.
we've overvalued
Yeah,
it.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
gotta
I
be.
think a lot of the time it is that because they're just scared, just in case it came back to bite them in the arse.
But I just think if it's backed by actual data, which it should be, then there should be no
Repercussions. Repercussions.
That word. Why can't I say that? Because it's backed by data, and data doesn't lie.
No.
Instead, it's backed by opinion.
And I think that's where the frustration comes in. It's because, this is my opinion. Well, no, because I need fact.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so frustrating when you've got 8 different answers from 10 different valuers and one property.
Yeah.
And it happens so often. Even the one that I did where we moved lender 3 times for my deal.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't give me the value. And I finally got the value. I was like, right, thank you very much. That's right. Let's move on.
So
it's
stupid,
just like,
isn't it?
Anyway.
It's part of being a property investor.
It is. Absolutely. But I think that is it for this week.
Yep. I mean, we could go on and on.
I could. Gosh.
And you'd love the stories.
Yeah. I got plenty of stories.
We got a load of stories.
But yeah, thanks again for tuning in, everyone. Again, if you have any questions at all, please pop them in the comments, or if you have any feedback. If there's anything you want us to discuss, any particular topics or anything like that, please do get in touch with us, and we'll try and make an episode of it, or we'll just reply to your comment with an answer. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for the notifications and all the rest of it. And we'll see you again next time. I'm Ajay Naya, and this is Jordan Wiley MBE. Thank you for tuning in.
Bye.